In this video, I'm going to go over the Sandra Cisneros essay, My Name. This will be used as an example of how to write about your culture and how to reflect on things that are personal to you. And we are writing a personal narrative based on this, but certainly yours does not have to be the same. I want you to make it your own, but I'm going to kind of read this along with you. Obviously, I know you know how to read, but I wanted to read this along with you and then point out some things that I feel like might work for your individual essay. So just as a reminder, you will be writing your own 2 to 3 page essay about your name, and I want you to infuse it with elements of culture, identity, community. You can also bring in aspects of religion or family traditions, community aspects, things that sort of identify you. So that's going to be different for everyone, and that's why I love this project, because you do get to individualize it, and I want it to be more of a personal narrative than a research project. Our next project will be solely research, and so you'll get your fair share of that, but I wanted the first project to be something that was personal to you. So this is part of Cisneros' book, The House on Mango Street, and this is a reflection of her name. So she starts by writing, in English, my name means hope. In Spanish, it means too many letters. It means sadness. It means waiting. It is like the number 9, a muddy color. It is the Mexican records my father plays on Sunday mornings when he is shaving, songs like Sobbing. So notice how, to begin with, she includes a lot of tone, and you could probably see some tone, a little bit of sadness, melancholy. She's very reflective, and then she does include some elements of her Mexican heritage right at the beginning, even mentioning the Spanish language. I also like her descriptive notes in this, when she just has that short little description, a muddy color. That says a lot about how she feels about her name. And she's used some comparisons to help the reader feel the same way or a similar way that she feels as she reflects on her name. In the next section, she writes, it was my great-grandmother's name, and now it is mine. She was a horsewoman too, born like me in the Chinese year of the horse, which is supposed to be bad luck if you're born female. But I think this is a Chinese lie, because the Chinese, like the Mexicans, don't like their women strong. So here she brings in a little attitude about her culture, how she feels, how she specifically feels as a female within her culture. And notice how in all of these descriptions, she does not come right out and directly just hit you over the head with her thoughts. She weaves a tapestry of a story here. So she's kind of creating a picture for us of her family, her culture, her feelings, her attitude about these things. And it's not just reading a direct description, this is my name, this is how I feel, but she brings a lot of literary descriptions, and it's very pleasant to read. But as a reader, you do automatically feel some angst and some sadness that she also feels, maybe about her name, as she reflects on it. So when you write your piece, I would like for you to also try to use these types of phrasings. Don't just write something like, my name is, it means this to me. We want to infuse some literary aspects, some descriptions. You want to draw a picture with your words, and you want to sort of guide the reader. You want our time together, you and as the writer and me as the reader, you want it to be an experience rather than just kind of a checklist of I'm reading words and you filled in the blanks and you checked off the boxes. We want more of a feeling about who you really are. In the third paragraph, she writes, my great-grandmother. I would have liked to have known her. So see, we automatically know that all the things she knows about her namesake were probably told to her through family stories and through traditions and discussions about who this person was because she didn't know her. That's a key part of this essay and how she's reflecting on what her name means to her. So I would have liked to have known her, a wild horse of a woman, so wild she wouldn't marry. So we get the feeling that her grandmother was a little bit of a rebel. She doesn't say my grandmother was a rebel. She doesn't write that. She gives us descriptions about her grandmother that allow us as the reader to make these conclusions and to infer conclusions about who her grandmother or her great-grandmother was. Until my great-grandfather threw a sack over her head and carried her off, just like that, as if she were a fancy chandelier. That's the way he did it. We also see some phrasing here that shows us a personality with Cisneros, that she's a little bit matter-of-fact. She's a little bit, she doesn't pull punches, so to speak, but she's very descriptive. And as a reader, I appreciate that because I feel like she's guiding me through her feelings. Next, she writes, and the story goes, she never forgave him. She looked out the window her whole life, the way so many women sit their sadness on an elbow. I wonder if she made the best with what she got, or was she sorry because she couldn't be all the things she wanted to be? Esperanza. I have inherited her name, but I don't want to inherit her place by the window. So this, to me, is probably my favorite paragraph of the whole piece. In this, she tells us a lot about conflicts in her culture. She tells us a lot about challenges that females may face in her culture. Again, we're getting the idea that these were stories that were told to her, that she did not witness this firsthand. And I think that's key, that many traditions occur through storytelling in families. And that's how we sometimes gain our identity, through stories about our ancestors or stories about our grandparents before we were born, or our parents before we were born. So this is key. Notice when she writes, she looked out the window her whole life. That's something that's used in literature a lot of times to symbolize hope. If you ever see a character looking out a window or contemplating something as they look out the window, a lot of times that is symbolic of that character hoping for something different or hoping for something better. So that's a common literary way of letting the reader know that something else is going on. The turn of phrase that I love that she uses, and when I say turn of phrase, that is something we use with writing. We describe writing that uses a phrasing that is not common, but it means a lot, like it carries a lot of energy in the writing. So when she says, the way so many women sit their sadness on an elbow, and you can kind of visualize how someone would sit sort of like this with their head resting. And someone who is contemplating or someone who's thinking through something very deeply might sit their sadness on an elbow like this. So I think that's very descriptive. It's very well written. And then she explains to us that she does not want to be a female in her life the way she felt like her grandmother was a little trapped in the marriage. At school, they say my name funny, as if the syllables were made out of tin and hurt the roof of your mouth. But in Spanish, my name is made out of a softer something, like silver, not quite as thick as sister's name, Magdalena, which is uglier than mine. Magdalena, who at least can come home and become Ninny, but I am always Esperanza. So I like the way that she's taken us through this journey about her name, and she's given us history, she's given us culture, tradition, her own feelings about her culture, tradition, and family. But then here towards the end, she brings it back to a center with herself and how she really feels about her name. And she brings it into modern focus for how she herself feels about her name. And we can only imagine that Sandra is maybe a shortened version of Esperanza. I also like the way that she reflects on the fact that her sister gets a nickname and she doesn't have one, and it seems that she wants one. So I kind of wonder, I don't really know the story, but I kind of wonder if Sandra is not her own shortening of a name that she really doesn't like. In your own essay, if there's something you don't like about your name, you can discuss that. Or if you just adore your name, you love the way it sounds, you love the meaning to it, you can explore that. It's up to you. The end of the essay reads, I would like to baptize myself under a new name, a name more like the real me, the one nobody sees. Esperanza, or Lysandra, or Maritza, or Z's, the X. Yes, something like Z's the X will do. So a couple of things I wanted to end on is she has a lot of small paragraphs. So this is not going to be a traditional essay like you might write for a research project. This is going to be more creative. So all of the paragraphs do not have to be parallel in length. You can have some short paragraphs with a couple of sentences followed by a little bit of a more in-depth paragraph. You can also do some creative phrasing if you would like. You can have a tone that sounds more like how you write or how you speak. It does not have to be quite as formal as most college level academic writing for research and things like that. We will get to that soon enough, but I wanted you to have fun exploring your voice in writing and your feelings in writing, and I wanted this to be reflective. So hopefully you'll have some fun with it. I still do expect that you're going to have multiple drafts, multiple edit sessions, and that you're going to form something and shape something out of your reflection. And this will happen with several drafts. Do not be afraid to send your draft into the writing portal to get some feedback from one of the tutors. If you're having trouble writing, you can also set up a session with a tutor, or that can be virtual or in person if you're on campus. If you have any questions about anything, please reach out to me. I can't pre-grade your assignment, so you can't give me an essay and then I pre-grade it for you, but I can give you feedback or answer questions that you have along the way. Please use the tools that I've given you, though, before you just say, I don't know what I'm doing or I can't write it. Please use the tools of the writing process. If you ask for my help, I will be asking you where you are in the writing process, and I might ask you to produce your beginning stages of the writing, because that's how the relationship between a reviewer and a writer works. I can't write it for you, so I need to sort of see your process prior to working with you, and a tutor would need that as well. So I hope you have fun with this assignment. I hope you enjoyed reading along with me for this essay, and I look forward to seeing what you do with your own My Name essay.